The night market was alive with strange colors, glowing lights, and voices that mixed together in a low hum. Aliens of many shapes and sizes moved between the stalls, their eyes bright under the neon lamps. Some traded food, some traded weapons, and some traded secrets, but hidden in one dark corner, something different was happening. A little alien girl, no older than 3 years, stood trembling beside a tall guard. Her skin was pale blue, her large eyes full of tears. She clutched a broken doll in her tiny hands. The soldiers around her spoke in harsh voices. Their armor glinted coldly, and their weapons shone like fire. "She is too young," the girl pleaded, her voice shaking. "Please don't take her, she's just 3. Her words echoed in the narrow street, but no one dared to answer. The crowd looked away. They had seen this before. Children taken by the rulers, never to return. No one wanted to fight the soldiers. No one wanted to risk their own life. Fear was stronger than pity. The soldiers laughed at the little girl's cries. One of them bent down, pulling the doll from her hands and tossing it into the dirt. The child whimpered, her small fingers shaking. She tried to hold on to the guard's leg, but he kicked her away. The people in the street gasped, but still, no one moved. "Orders are orders," one soldier said, his voice sharp and cruel. "This child belongs to the High Council now. They say she is marked. They say she has something inside her. We do not question. We obey." The girl tried to crawl back, her voice breaking. "No, please, she is all I have, please. Don't take her away." Tears rolled down her cheeks as her small hands reached out in vain. The soldiers began to drag the child. Her cries grew louder. Each step scraped her feet against the rough ground. Her voice pierced the night like a broken note of music. Still, the crowd stood frozen, their faces pale, and then it happened. From the shadow of a closed shop, a figure stepped forward. He was tall but lean, dressed in simple clothes that carried dust from travel. His face was half hidden under the hood of his cloak, but his eyes burned with quiet fire. His boots made a heavy sound as he walked closer. The crowd murmured, shocked. A human here in this alien city. Humans were rare, outsiders, seen as weak and unimportant. They were not warriors, they were not rulers. Yet this one stood calm, his steps steady. The soldiers stopped, their grip on the child firm. One of them raised his weapon. "Step back, stranger. This is none of your business." The man's voice was low, but every word carried weight. "Let her go." The soldiers laughed, sharp and mocking. "A human, telling us what to do. You must want death." The man did not flinch. His eyes went to the crying child, then back to the soldiers. "She is 3 years old. What power do you need over a child? Let her go now." The girl's tears slowed. She looked up at him, her eyes wide with surprise. In that moment, she felt something she had not felt all night: hope. The soldiers closed in, surrounding him. Their armor clanged as they moved. The leader spat on the ground. "You don't know what you're doing. Human, this child is chosen. She belongs to the council. Stand aside or be crushed." The man pulled back his hood. His face was calm, but his jaw was firm. A scar ran across his cheek, a mark of battles fought long ago. His voice was steady. "I said let her go." The crowd held its breath. No one had ever spoken to the guards like this. No one had ever dared. A silence spread through the marketplace, thick as smoke. The soldiers raised their weapons, pointing them at the human. The little girl screamed, "No, please, don't hurt him." Her voice cracked like glass, but the man did not move. His shadow stretched across the dirt, his hand clenched at his side, every muscle ready. He looked at the soldiers with eyes that promised something dangerous, something hidden. The leader snarled, "So be it, human, you will die tonight." The girl's broken doll lay forgotten in the dirt. The soldiers' weapons gleamed, and the air grew tight with fear. The market crowd whispered, their eyes wide. The night was about to change, and no one knew how. For the first time in years, someone had stepped forward. Someone had said, "No." And the soldiers, the crowd, and even the trembling child understood. This human was not like the others. He had come to fight. The silence broke as the first weapon swung down. The capture had begun. The soldiers tightened their circle around the human. Their weapons hummed. With deadly energy, their faces twisted with cruel smiles. No one in the crowd dared to move. They all thought the same thing. A human could not stand against trained alien guards. But the man stood calm, his shoulders straight, his eyes fixed. On the soldiers, the little alien girl clung to his leg, her tiny body shaking. Her wide eyes searched his face as if trying to understand why he had stepped forward. "You can't win," one soldier sneered. "Stand aside before we cut you down." The man's voice was steady. "I don't need to win, I just need to protect her." Those words spread like fire through the watching crowd. Some gasped, others whispered. A human, protecting one of their own? It was unheard of. The leader of the guards raised his weapon high. "Enough talk," he barked. "Take him down." The first guard lunged, his weapon slicing the air. But the human moved faster than anyone expected. He shifted to the side, grabbed the guard's arm, and twisted. The weapon fell to the ground with a sharp crack. The guard howled in pain as he dropped to his knees. The crowd gasped. Nobody had thought the human could fight. His movements were quick but precise. His eyes sharp. His body balanced like a warrior trained long ago. Another soldier charged. His armor clanged as he raised his blade. The human ducked low, sweeping his leg under the guard. The soldier crashed to the ground, dust rising around him. Before the guard could stand, the human kicked his weapon away. The little girl's eyes shone with amazement. She had been sure this stranger would die. But he was fighting back. He was not afraid. "Kill him!" The leader shouted, rage burning in his voice. Two more soldiers came at once. Their weapons glowed with deadly light. The human's cloak swirled as he turned, dodging the first strike and catching the second weapon with his bare hand. Sparks burned his skin, but he did not let go. He pulled the soldier forward and slammed his fist into the alien's chest. The soldier stumbled back, gasping. The crowd roared with whispers. Shock turned to awe. Some aliens even stepped closer, unable to believe what they were seeing. The leader growled. His eyes narrowed as he studied the human. "You fight too well for your kind. Who are you?" The man said nothing. He only adjusted his stance, protecting the little girl behind him. The girl's small voice broke through the noise. "Don't hurt him, please," she begged. Tugging on his cloak, the human glanced down at her. His expression softened for only a moment. Then he turned his eyes back to the enemy. His voice was like steel. "I told you once, let her go." The soldiers hesitated, their confidence shaken. This was no ordinary man. His movements carried discipline, training, and something more, something they could not name. The leader spat on the ground. "Very well, human. If you want to die protecting a child, then you will die by my hand." He stepped forward, taller and stronger than the others. His armor was darker, heavier. His weapon was longer, glowing with dangerous energy. The crowd pulled back. Even the other soldiers watched with caution. The girl clutched the human's leg tighter. Her voice trembled. "Please don't go. He's too big." The man knelt slightly, just enough to meet her eyes. His voice was soft. "Stay behind me, little one. Don't be afraid." Then he rose, his eyes never leaving the leader, his body ready. The leader swung his weapon with great force. The ground shook as it hit the stone floor, but the human dodged just in time, rolling to the side and striking with his fist against the alien's ribs. The sound of impact echoed. The leader grunted, surprised. The fight grew fierce. The leader's blows were heavy, each strike meant to kill. But the human's movements were fast and clever. He used the ground, the walls, and even the fallen weapons to his advantage. Every step was measured, every strike precise. The crowd could not look away. Their hearts raced with every move. This was no longer just a fight. It was a stand, a human, against the power of the council. The girl's eyes filled with tears, but not of fear, she whispered. "He's fighting for me." The leader grew frustrated. His roars filled the market. He attacked with reckless fury. His weapon slashed the air, leaving glowing trails. But the human slipped through every opening, striking back with calm strength. Finally, with a sharp movement, the man caught the leader's arm and twisted hard. The weapon clattered to the ground. The leader stumbled, his face filled with rage and disbelief. The human pressed forward, standing tall. His shadow fell over the fallen weapon. His voice rang clear. "This fight ends now. Let her go." The leader snarled but hesitated. The crowd was no longer silent. They whispered louder, their voices carrying awe. A human had stood against the council's soldiers, and he had not fallen. The little girl stepped forward, her tiny voice trembling but brave. "Please, listen to him. Please don't take me." For the first time, the soldiers looked uncertain. Their leader was weakened, their enemy stood strong, and the crowd's eyes were watching. The night market was no longer filled with only fear. Something new had entered the air, hope. The stranger's stand had begun. The market was silent. The crowd pressed close, their glowing eyes fixed on the human and the soldiers. For the first time, the guards looked uncertain. Their leader had been struck down, his weapon lying useless on the ground. The little alien girl clung to the man's cloak, her face pale but full of hope. The leader staggered to his feet. His heavy armor clanked as he stood tall again. His breathing rough, his pride wounded more than his body. Rage burned in his eyes. He raised his hand, signaling the rest of his men. "Enough games," he roared. "All of you attack." The soldiers obeyed. They rushed forward as one, weapons flashing with deadly light. Their boots thundered against the stone ground. The crowd gasped in fear. Some pushed back into the shadows. Afraid to be caught in the storm, the human did not retreat. His stance tightened, his eyes sharp. He shifted his weight like a man ready for war. "Stay behind me," he whispered to the child, his voice calm, steady. The first soldier struck. With a glowing blade, the human stepped aside, grabbed the soldier's wrist, and slammed him hard into another guard. Both crashed to the ground with a heavy thud, their weapons sliding across the dirt. Sparks lit the night. Another came from behind, swinging a staff charged with energy. The human ducked low, spinning on his heel. His fist struck the soldier's side. A crack of armor echoed. The soldier dropped with a groan. The crowd erupted with whispers, their disbelief turning into awe. A human fighting like this? They muttered. How can it be? But there was no time for wonder. More soldiers charged. The human moved with speed and control. He used the narrow street, forcing them to fight one by one instead of all together. Each strike was quick, precise, each move designed to finish fast. One soldier thrust a spear toward the child. Her scream pierced the night. But the human was faster. His hand snapped forward, catching the shaft in midair. With a twist, he broke it in two and shoved the attacker back into the crowd. The little girl's tears streamed down, but her voice was stronger now. "Don't stop, please. Don't let them take me." He glanced at her only for a moment, his jaw clenched. "I won't." The leader roared again, fury in his throat. "He's just a man. Bring him down." 4 soldiers surrounded the human at once. Their blades and staffs moved like lightning. Sparks lit the walls. Each blow meant to kill. The human's cloak ripped. His arm burned where energy grazed his skin. But still, he fought. His fists struck. His body spun. His kicks landed with the strength of survival itself. The crowd could feel it now. This was not only a fight, this was defiance. For years they had watched in silence as children were stolen, families broken, lives crushed. But tonight, someone had stepped forward, and he was not falling. The girl's small hand reached for her broken doll on the ground. She clutched it tight, whispering to herself, "He will save me," the leader, furious, stomped forward again, his massive frame cutting through the dust. "You are nothing," he growled, raising his heavy blade. "No human can fight forever." The man's chest heaved, sweat on his brow. But his eyes burned brighter. His voice was steady. "Then I will fight until I can't stand. But she will not be yours." The Leader swung. The blade came down with crushing force. The human caught the strike with both arms, the energy burning against his skin. He pushed back. The ground beneath them cracking. The sound of strain echoed through the market. The crowd held their breath. The little girl's scream carried through the air. No. With a sudden twist, the man shifted, pulling the leader forward. The heavy blade crashed into the ground, sparks flying. The human struck with his knee, then his fist. The leader fell back again. Stumbling in disbelief, the soldiers froze. Their strongest fighter beaten back twice. Fear flickered in their eyes. The whispers in the crowd grew louder, bolder. Maybe he can win, they said. Maybe the council can be stopped. The leader's fury shook his voice. You don't understand, human. This child is not just a child. She carries the blood of the old ones. She belongs to the council. She's the key to power. The girl gasped. Her small hands gripping her doll tighter, her eyes filled with fear and confusion. She looked up at the man, as if begging him to explain, but he did not answer. His jaw tightened, his fists clenched again, his voice was cold. I don't care what they call her. She is a child. She is not yours. The soldiers hesitated. Their leader's words had revealed something dangerous. The crowd's whispers grew to a low roar. They were not only watching a fight now. They were learning a secret. The human stepped forward, his shadow long in the market light. His voice rang clear. If you want her, you will have to go through me. The silence that followed was heavy. The soldiers looked to their leader. The crowd pressed closer. The girl's eyes filled with both fear and hope. And then, the soldiers charged again. But this time, the people did not only watch. Some of them stepped closer. Some of them shouted. Their voices carried strength. For the first time, the guards felt the crowd against them. The fight was no longer just between the human and the soldiers. It had become something greater. It had become the beginning of resistance. Dust still hung in the air of the market. The smell of burned metal and cracked stone filled the night. The soldiers groaned where they had fallen. Their weapons scattered across the ground. The leader wiped blood from his lip, his eyes burning with hatred. But the human did not wait for him to rise again. He bent down quickly, scooping the little alien girl into his arms. Her tiny body shook against his chest, her doll pressed tightly between them. Her wide eyes searched his face. Are we safe? She whispered. The man shook his head. Not yet. We must go. The crowd parted before him, silent and watching. Some eyes filled with awe, others with fear. No one dared to stop him. Some whispered words of courage under their breath. Run! Stranger, run while you can. The human moved fast, his long strides carrying him out of the broken marketplace. His boots pounded against the stone streets. The girl's small arms wrapped tightly around his neck, her breathing fast, her tears warm against his skin. Behind them, the leader's roar split the night. After them. Don't let them escape. The sound of armored boots followed. Soldiers regrouped, anger driving them forward. Their shouts echoed down the narrow streets. The chase had begun. The human darted into the maze of alleys, twisting through tight passages lit only by weak flickering lamps. He knew the city was not his, but he moved with purpose. His eyes scanned every corner, searching for shadows deep enough to hide. The girl lifted her head, her small voice trembling. Why do they want me? Why won't they stop? The man's jaw tightened. His breath came hard as he ran. Because they fear what you are. They fear what you might become. Her eyes filled with confusion. But I'm only a child. Yes, he said softly. And that is why I won't let them take you. Behind them, the shouts grew louder. The soldiers were gaining ground. Their heavy boots slammed against the stones like drums of war. The man turned sharply into a side street, his cloak whipping around him. His shoulder brushed the rough walls. But he kept running. The city changed as they moved deeper. The stalls of the market gave way to crumbling houses and broken towers. The air smelled of rust and smoke. Stray lights flickered weakly. Shadows stretched long and sharp. The girl's Tears slowed. She clung to him still, but her voice was braver now. "Will you really protect me?" He looked at her for only a moment, his face hard yet kind. "I gave you my word." The soldiers' shouts echoed closer. Their glowing weapons lit the night behind them. The man knew he could not outrun them forever. He needed a place somewhere to hide until the city slept. Ahead, he spotted an old archway, its stone broken. A heavy iron gate hanging crooked. He pushed through, the sound of rust grinding in the silence. Beyond lay a forgotten courtyard, weeds cracking through the floor. A ruined building leaned against the night sky, its windows dark. The man slipped inside. Pulling the girl close, dust filled the air. Rats scurried across the broken floor. Roof above was half gone, letting in slivers of moonlight. He set the girl down gently, crouching to meet her eyes. "Stay quiet, not a sound," she nodded, clutching her doll tight to her chest. Her little face pale but determined. The man crouched near the door, his hand resting on the hilt of a blade hidden beneath his cloak. His breath slowed, his ears sharp to every sound outside. The soldiers stormed past, their voices echoing in the street. "Search every alley. They can't be far." The sound of armor grew fainter, then faded. The girl let out a shaky breath. Her eyes lifted to him. "Why do you risk yourself for me? You don't even know me." The man leaned back against the broken wall, his face shadowed by the moonlight, his voice low, "Because once, long ago, someone should have saved a child, but they didn't. I will not make the same mistake." The girl blinked, her small hands trembled. She wanted to ask more, but the weight in his voice silenced her. She only nodded, her trust in him growing stronger. The man's gaze swept the ruined room. He knew this was only a pause, not safety. The council would not stop. The leader would not rest. They would send more soldiers, stronger ones, and the girl was still in danger. He turned back to her. "We must leave the city. Beyond these walls, we may find freedom." Her voice was small but certain. "Then I will go with you." For the first time since he had stepped from the shadows, the man allowed himself a faint smile. He reached out and brushed her hair gently. "Then we leave together, but outside, in the silent streets." The leader of the guards watched with furious eyes. His soldiers stood behind him, waiting. His hand gripped his weapon tight. His voice was like poison. "No human can take what belongs to the council. We will find them, and when we do, city will watch them fall." Inside the ruined shelter, the girl closed her eyes, pressing against the man's cloak. He kept his hand on his blade, listening to the night. The escape had begun, but the hunt was far from over. The ruined shelter was cold and silent. Dust hung in the air like smoke. The broken walls groaned in the night wind. The little alien girl curled up beside the human, clutching her doll tightly. Her wide eyes refused to close. She was tired. But fear would not let her sleep. The man sat near the cracked doorway, his back against the wall. His blade rested across his knees. His eyes never closed. He listened to every sound, the drip of water, the scratching of rats, the distant echo of armored boots still searching the streets. The girl's voice broke the silence, soft and shaky. "Will they come again?" The man nodded slightly, his voice low and steady. "Yes, they will not stop, not until they find you." Her small hands tightened on her doll. "But why me? I don't understand. I'm just small." The man turned his face toward her. The shadows made his eyes look darker, older. "You are not just small, child. You are something they fear. That is why they want you." Her lips trembled. "Fear me? But I'm only 3, he sighed, his voice heavy with memory. "Sometimes the smallest ones carry the greatest weight. They say you have the blood of the old ones. They believe you are the key to their power." The girl stared at him, confused. "The old ones?" The man's eyes flickered with pain. He looked away toward the broken ceiling where the moon shone through. For a long moment, he was silent. When he spoke again, his voice was different, lower, heavier. "Long ago, before I came here, I fought in a war. Not on this world, not with these people, but with others who thought they could control everything. I saw villages burned. I saw children taken. I saw the same fear in their eyes that I see in yours. Girl hugged her knees, her doll pressed to her cheek. She whispered, "Did you win?" The man shook his head slowly. "No, we lost more than we could count. I lost everything." His jaw tightened, his scar catching the moonlight. "That is why I left. That is why I wander now. But when I saw you, I could not walk away. I would not let it happen again." The girl's eyes filled with tears. She crawled closer, her tiny hand touching his arm. "You're not like the others, you care." The man looked at her hand, so small against his scarred skin. For a moment, his hard expression softened. Perhaps I am only tired of running from ghosts." Silence filled the room again. Only the wind whispered through the broken walls. The girl leaned against him, her small body trembling less now. Slowly, her eyes closed, her breathing steady. She slept at last, safe for the moment. But the man did not sleep. His mind was full. The words of the guard leader echoed. "She carries the blood of the old ones." He knew enough about the council to understand what that meant. Legend spoke of children born with hidden power, bloodlines tied to ancient beings. The council would use that power for control. They would twist it into a weapon. That was why they hunted her. That was why they would never stop. His hand tightened on the blade, his jaw clenched. He knew the road ahead would only grow darker. Hours passed, the city quieted. The footsteps of soldiers faded. Yet the man knew they were still out there, waiting, searching. He stared into the night, his thoughts heavy. When dawn came, pale light slipping through the cracks, the girl stirred. She rubbed her eyes with her tiny fists. Her voice was soft. "Are we leaving?" The man nodded, standing tall. He reached out his hand. She placed her small fingers in his without hesitation. Her trust was unshaken. Her eyes, though tired, held something new: courage. They stepped out of the ruined shelter into the morning. Streets. The city looked different now, quieter, but every shadow felt dangerous. The man led her through hidden paths, avoiding patrols. He knew they needed to leave the city walls. Beyond the wastelands, maybe there was safety. As they walked, the girl asked, "What's your name?" The man paused, his eyes narrowing slightly. He had not spoken his name in years. It belonged to a past he had buried. Still, he answered, his voice rough. "My name is Kale." The girl repeated it softly, as if tasting the sound. "Kale." Then she smiled for the first time since he had met her. "You are my Kale now." Something shifted in him at those words. He looked down at her small, fragile face, and for the first time in a long while, the weight on his chest felt lighter. But danger still lingered. Above the rooftops, silent drones hovered, scanning the streets. Kale pulled the girl closer into the shadows, his eyes sharp. "We must move faster." The girl nodded, her little legs keeping up as best they could, her doll bobbing in her arms with every step. They passed broken alleys, burned-out homes, silent watchers who did not speak but whose eyes followed them. Kale felt the city itself was holding its breath. When they reached the outer wall, Kale studied the guards posted high above. Their armor gleamed in the morning sun. He knew the escape would not be easy. He knew blood might spill again. He looked at the child beside him. Her trust, her innocence, her hidden secret. She was more than just a child now. She was a promise, and he had sworn to protect her. His grip tightened on his blade. His voice was low but certain. "We leave the city today, no matter what." The girl nodded bravely. "I'm not afraid, not with you." Kale's eyes hardened. His scar burned in the sunlight. He whispered to himself, "Then I will not fail you." And with that, he led her into the shadow of the Great Wall, where danger waited and secrets deeper than either of them yet knew. The wall rose above them like a mountain, cold and gray under the pale morning light. Its towers reached into the sky, guarded by soldiers who carried weapons that hummed with deadly energy. The gates were locked with steel, watched by eyes that never blinked. For most, escape was impossible. Kale stood in the shadows of a crumbling archway. The little alien girl pressed close to his side. Her small fingers clung to his cloak, her doll tucked under her arm. Her eyes were wide, staring up at the wall. "How will we get through?" she whispered. Kale studied the gates, his face calm though his heart pounded like war drums. "Not through," he said softly. "Over." The girl's mouth opened in shock. "Over the wall?" "But it's too high." Kale's eyes narrowed, his mind already turning with old soldier's knowledge. Every wall has a weakness, and every guard has fear. Before he could move, the sound of boots echoed down the street. He turned sharply, pulling the girl behind him. A squad of soldiers marched into view, their armor polished, their leader at the front. And behind them came the same cruel face as the night before, the captain of the guard, his lips curled in a smile that dripped with hatred. "There you are," the captain hissed. His weapon gleamed as he raised it. "Did you think you could escape us, human?" The girl whimpered. Pressing closer to Kale, he set his hand on her shoulder, steady and strong. His voice rang like steel. "You'll have to kill me before you take her." The soldiers spread out, blocking the street, their weapons glowed, their eyes cold. The captain laughed. "That can be arranged. She is ours, Kale. She belongs to the council, and you will be nothing but a memory." Kale's grip tightened on his blade. His scar burned in the sunlight. His voice was calm but fierce. "I have been a memory before, but today I will be a storm." The soldiers charged, their armor clanging, their weapons spitting sparks of light. Kale pushed the girl against the wall. "Stay down, don't move," he ordered. Then he stepped forward, his cloak sweeping across the dirt. The first soldier swung. Kale ducked low, driving his shoulder into the alien's chest. The impact sent the soldier crashing into another. Their weapons fell, clattering against stone. Kale seized one, spinning it in his hand with the skill of a warrior long trained. The girl gasped, her eyes following his every move. Fear gripped her, but also something new, hope. Kale fought like a man who had nothing left to lose. His strikes were fast, his movements sharp. He turned every weapon against its owner. He fought not with rage, but with purpose. Each blow was for the child behind him, each breath for her survival. But the soldiers were many, and the street was narrow. Their blades cut the air, sparks flying as steel met steel. Kale's arm burned where one weapon grazed him. His side ached where another slammed into his ribs, yet he did not fall. The captain watched, his eyes narrowing. His laughter faded as Kale pushed back his men, one after another. Finally, he stepped forward, his massive frame towering above. His weapon glowed brighter than the others. His voice thundered, "Enough! Face me, human!" Kale wiped blood from his lip, his chest rising with heavy breaths. He turned slowly, his eyes cold as ice. "With pleasure." The girl clutched her doll tighter, whispering, "Please win, Kale. Please don't leave me." Two warriors clashed in the center of the street. The captain's blows were heavy, each strike crashing like thunder. Kale blocked and dodged, his blades sparking with every hit. The ground shook with their battle. The crowd that had gathered gasped with every movement. The captain sneered, "You cannot win. You are only human. You bleed, you break, and when you fall, she will be ours." Kale's teeth clenched, his arms trembling under the weight of the captain's strength. His voice broke through the clash. "Maybe I bleed, maybe I break, but I will never bow, not to you, not to the council." With a roar, the captain swung his weapon down. Kale twisted, the blade smashing into the ground. Dust burst into the air. Kale used the moment, driving his fist into the captain's face. The larger man stumbled back, rage twisting his features. The soldiers froze. Their leader had been struck. The crowd's whispers grew louder. Courage rippled through the air. For the first time, the people saw hope. The captain roared, lifting his weapon high again, "I will tear you apart." Kale's chest heaved. His body screamed with pain, but his eyes burned brighter than fire. He whispered to himself, "For her," and then charged. The clash shook the street. Sparks lit the air. The child's scream echoed as she watched. The city itself seemed to hold its breath. The final confrontation had begun, and only one would walk away. Asterisk. The street shook with the clash of steel and the roar of the captain's weapon. Sparks burst into the air, filling the space with light and smoke. Cale's arms trembled under the weight of each strike. His muscles screamed with pain, but his eyes never left the enemy. The little alien girl crouched behind a broken wall, clutching her doll so tight her fingers turned pale. Her heart raced as she watched Cale fight. "Please, don't fall," she whispered, her small voice lost in the noise of battle. The captain swung his massive blade. Cale blocked, but the force sent him stumbling backward. Blood ran from his arm. His cloak was torn. His body heavy, but he stood. Again, straight and unbroken. "You are finished," the captain growled, his voice deep with rage. "You cannot stop the council. You cannot save her." Cale spat blood onto the dirt. His chest rose and fell with sharp breaths. His voice cut through the chaos, steady and hard. "I don't need to stop the council. I just need to stop you." With a furious roar, the captain charged. His strikes came faster, each one meant to kill. Cale parried, his blade sparking, his body twisting with speed born of desperation. His scarred face glistened with sweat, his jaw clenched with every blow. The people of the city watched from the shadows. Fear filled their eyes, but also something new: courage. For the first time, they saw a man who did not bow, a man who stood against power, a man who fought for a child. The girl's tears streamed down, her voice rose above the noise. "Cale, don't give up." Her cry pierced his heart. Strength surged through his weary body. He pushed forward, striking faster, sharper. His blade cut across the captain's armor, sparks flying. The larger man staggered, rage twisting his face. "You are nothing," the captain bellowed. "A broken soldier, a lost human. You think you can defy us?" Cale's eyes burned with fire. His voice roared back. "I am not nothing. I am her shield." With a final burst of strength, Cale dodged the captain's heavy swing and drove his blade deep into the gap in the alien's armor. The captain froze, his weapon slipping from his hands, his eyes wide with shock. A moment later, his body collapsed onto the stone street with a thunderous crash. Silence fell. The soldiers froze in disbelief. Their leader lay dead, defeated not by an army, but by a single human. The little girl ran to Cale, throwing her small arms around him. Her voice broke with tears. "You did it. You saved me." Cale dropped his blade, his body trembling. He sank to one knee, wrapping his arms around her. His chest ached, his wounds burned, but his voice was soft. "I promised you, and I do not break promises." The crowd stirred. Their whispers grew louder. Some stepped closer, their faces no longer full of fear but filled with awe. One voice called out, "The human. He fought for her." Another voice added, "He stood against the council's men." For the first time, the people did not bow their heads. They lifted them. Hope flickered in their eyes like fire catching dry wood. The remaining soldiers hesitated, their weapons lowered. Fear showed in their movements. Without their captain, their strength was broken. Slowly, one by one, they turned and fled into the shadows, leaving the street empty. Cale stood weakly, the girl still in his arms. He looked at the people who surrounded them. His voice carried, quiet but strong. "No child belongs to the council." "Not her, not anyone," the crowd murmured, nodding. Their courage grew. They had seen a truth tonight, that even the council's strongest could fall. The girl pressed her head against Cale's chest. Her small voice whispered, "Will they come again?" Cale looked up at the sky, the stars faint in the morning light. His jaw tightened. "Yes, they will come. They will never stop." The girl trembled. "Then what will we do?" Cale bent low, meeting her eyes, his face scarred but kind, his voice firm. "We will run when we must, fight when we must, but we will never bow. We will live free together." She nodded, her trust unshaken. She held her doll close, her tiny. "Smile brave. Together," she repeated. The people around them stepped closer. Some bowed their heads, not in fear but in respect. One old alien placed a hand on his chest. "You have given us hope, stranger. Perhaps the council is not as strong as they want us to believe." Kale looked at them all, his body weary, his wounds heavy, but in his heart, he knew this night was more than just a fight for one child. It was the spark of something greater. He took the girl's hand, holding it tight, his voice low but certain. "Come, little one. We have a long road ahead." They walked together toward the edge of the city, the broken gates now unguarded. The people watched them go, their whispers rising like a promise carried by the wind. The girl looked back once, her eyes wide. She saw the people standing taller, their fear fading. For the first time she felt not only safe but also important. Kale lifted her into his arms again, his step steady though his body ached, his eyes fixed on the horizon beyond the walls. The dawn broke, painting the sky with fire. The world ahead was dangerous. The council would hunt them, but together. They had begun something the rulers could not control. A new beginning, asterisk.